Hey guys, Nurse Jackie here. I got this message on Tumblr and it reminded me of something that I had wanted to make a video of for you guys because I really feel like it'll help you, and I think it's just a great story that needs to be shared with you. So I'm going to keep this anonymous because it is pretty embarrassing and I don't want to embarrass the person. So they say, "Hi Jackie, I fainted today during clinical watching a wound debridement and it really shook me up. They took me down to the ER and the whole 9 yards. My instructor, the RNs, and my ER doctor kept assuring me that it happens to a lot of people, that it isn't any indication of my ability to be a nurse. I was wondering if you would agree with them. I'm just really disappointed in myself." Do not be disappointed in yourself, number one. It happens to a lot of people. It does. And you know what? It happened to me one time. And yeah, I was extremely embarrassed, but it's not a big deal. It happens. So I'm just going to tell you my story and then I'm going to explain a little bit further. It wasn't during a wound debridement, but it was actually during my maternity clinical. I was watching my first ever C-section and I had no idea what was going to happen. No idea. So I didn't know what to expect. And I remember I had eaten that morning because I was told the week before that I was going to see a C-section that day. So I made sure to eat because I'm like, I don't want to faint, I don't want to have low blood sugar, blah, 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 blah. So I ate a big breakfast and I'm like, yeah, I'm so ready for this. I'm so excited. And it was really funny because I was paired up with one of my really good friends and it was just me and her in the C-section in the OR. And I was like making fun of her as we were gowning up and scrubbing in. I was just like, "Oh, did you have breakfast today? Because you might faint if you didn't have breakfast." And she's like, "No, she didn't, but she's not going to faint." She asked me if I had breakfast, and I'm like, "Yeah, I ate breakfast, so I'm not going to faint." Breakfast had nothing to do with it. So it was just me thinking back on it now, it's just really, really funny. So, alright, we're inside, I have a mask on, I'm all gowned up, I have gloves, ridiculous, I am like sweating bullets, I am just dying in this mask, I hate wearing the mask over my face, it's just horrible. So, they start cutting through this woman's belly, and they're cauterizing it as they cut through, and I didn't really know that's what they did, and I didn't really know it was going to stink. Because when you cauterize flesh, when you burn flesh and muscle, it stinks. It smells bad. To me it does. And the minute I smelt it, just a little bit, I got so nauseous. And I knew right away I was in big trouble. So in my head I'm thinking, okay, just breathe, calm down. So I'm not even paying attention at this point to the C-section that was going on in front of me. I'm just concentrating on breathing. I'm like, just breathe, just breathe. Idiot me decided to take a huge breath. I took a deep breath. Bad choice, because that's when I got lightheaded and I grabbed onto my friend. And after this, she told me what happened. I grabbed onto her. She said she felt my grip loosen, and she knew right away that I was starting to faint. So she caught me, okay? We're in the middle of a C-section. I'm fainting. My friend is catching me while this woman is getting her belly cut open and a baby ripped out of her stomach. It was just ridiculous. There was like 2 doctors, 3 doctors in there. There was a nurse, and luckily for me, one of the doctors was just there on standby watching, and he had saw what was going on. So he went over to my friend, grabbed me, took me out of the OR room, well, the OR, and he actually placed me on the floor. Now, I remember being placed on the floor, and that's when I woke up. That's when I opened my eyes, and I heard them saying, "Put her on the floor, put her on the floor." I couldn't see anything. Apparently, my friend said my eyes were open the whole entire time. I didn't see anything. I blacked out, but I was able to hear everything, and I was a little confused. I didn't know what was going on. They put me on the floor, and I instantly, came back. So they're like, "Oh, stay laying down on the floor." I'm like, no, I'm ready. I just felt so stupid. I was like, oh my God, did I just, almost faint? I can't believe this happened. And the doctor's like, "Don't worry, just stay sitting down, blah, blah, blah." So they actually got me a chair, and I sat in the chair. They told me not to get up, and I had to watch the C-section through the door, a little window in the door, and I barely saw anything. So it really sucked because I missed more than like 70% of the procedure, and one of the doctors had to come out and like rescue me. And if it wasn't for my friend, I probably would have fallen on the floor. And that wouldn't have been pretty. So I thank her so much for that. I thank the doctor. And then right after all of that, I come out, and I don't know how my nursing instructor, who by the way was actually my maternity professor also, even more embarrassing, she somehow found out. I guess the doctor must have ran and found her and told her, and she came up to me, oh my god, are you okay? And then she was really cool, and she just started laughing at me and like making fun of me. And every time we had clinicals, so like at the end during conference, she was like, so Jackie, do you want to tell the class what happened to you today? I was like, oh, I don't want to say it. Like, it's so embarrassing, and do I really have to tell people? But I told them, and no one made fun of me. They're just like, wow, like, yeah, that's happened to them before. They've not for a C-section, not for a major surgery, something really small like a wound debridement, which is still not that small because it is pretty nasty sometimes, and it gets me nauseous sometimes too. It's not easy to look at. And it was a very crazy time. And then to make it even worse, my maternity teacher, professor / clinical instructor, I think she like hated me, but I loved her. She was like my favorite. We were in class one time. It was like maybe 2 weeks after the incident, and I'm in class, and out of nowhere she goes, "Oh, Jackie, do you want to tell the class what happened to you last week in clinical?" Do you know, I turned so pale because I was like, oh my god, you're not going to make me tell the whole class. I was like, no, I don't want to tell them anything. And she starts laughing, and she went and told the whole class what happened to me. I was so embarrassed. I turned from pale to this color red in like 5 seconds. It was ridiculous. And now that I look back on it, it is pretty funny. Whatever, it happened. But after that, she did tell me that it does happen to a lot of people, and usually when you get more exposure to it, you get stronger, and you don't become nauseous, you don't become lightheaded, and you don't faint. And you know what? It's true, because a year later, I was doing my internship, and so I did my internship in the PICU, the Pediatric ICU, Intensive Care Unit, and I was able to pick a day where I could go on any other unit that I wanted. So I was like, I want to go to maternity again. I want to see a vaginal birth because I had never seen one. I didn't get a chance to see one in school. And I want to see another C-section. See how I do through it, you know? So I was terrified. I was like, I really hope I don't faint again. That's all I need is to faint again, and I'm just going to look like a complete fool and idiot. And they're going to kick me out of the hospital. So that day, that one day that I floated, well, not floated, that day that I went to the maternity unit for my internship, I saw 2 vaginal births and 1 C-section. And guess what? I didn't faint during the C-section. I knew what was going to happen. I was prepared. I held my breath when they were cauterizing because I knew the smell was going to make me really nauseous and want to faint. And I was fine. I did good. And you know what? It's true. It definitely does not indicate your ability or your non-ability to be a nurse. No. Everyone has their weaknesses. There are things that will always bother a person. There is no one that is like super strong and nothing is ever going to bother them. No, not true. Like me, like there's some people who can't stand blood, but you can still be a nurse. Yeah, it'll be a little bit difficult because you're going to be around blood a lot, but the more exposure you get to it, the better you become with it. The more comfortable you become. You may not be completely comfortable, but you'll be a lot better than you were before. So like me, I can stand vomit, I can stand blood, I can stand poop and pee, but there's one thing that I cannot stand, and it gets me like retching and gagging every time I see it or hear it, and that would be spit. Sputum. Isn't that crazy? If I have to get like a sputum sample, I dread it so much because I just can't tell a patient, oh hey, cough in this cup, and then I have to look at it. Just me hearing them go and then like spit it out, and then I see it in the cup. It just makes, even now just thinking about it freaks me out, and I just can't do it. It's nasty. It's so nasty. But I could be like, oh, hey, let me see your poop. And then I look at the poop and I smell it. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I flush it down the toilet. I don't know. Everyone's different. Some people can't stand poop. Others can't stand pee. Others sputum. Other blood. Some people can't do OR, wounds. The more exposure you get, the better you are at it. The more comfortable you get, and you won't, you know, freak out. But yeah, don't be disappointed in yourself. I would say don't be embarrassed, but you are going to be embarrassed, and that's fine. Be embarrassed, but just don't let it disappoint you. Do not let it bring you down. Do not let it discourage you, and don't let it second guess your ability, because it doesn't mean that you can't be a good nurse if you can't watch a wound debridement, you know. And it depends where you work. You may not even be doing any wound debridement, so don't even worry about it. I've been working almost 2 years now, and I have yet to do a wound debridement or anything to do with wounds. I don't take care of wounds because children don't really get like pressure ulcers or anything like that. All they get is a bump on their arm, and that's not even really a wound. It's just a bruise, you know? So I don't really have to do it. So just don't think that because you're weak in one area that you cannot be a nurse. It's not true, and it's totally, completely fine. If you can't stand something, if you get a little queasy, a little nauseous, or you can't handle something, it's fine. Practice makes perfect. Just don't give up. Don't let it discourage you. Don't let it put you down. This video is becoming way too long, so I'm really, really sorry for that. But I'm just trying to give you guys encouragement and just to know that it's okay for you to faint. It is okay for you to not be able to stand this or that. It's okay. Guys, it's okay. You will not be perfect, and it's okay not to be perfect. So please, please, please don't be discouraged. That is like number one. Don't let it pull you down. Nothing. If you get a chance to see another wound debridement, go for it. You know what's going to happen. You can expect it now. And the minute that you feel, this is the number one key. The minute that you feel like you're going to faint, grab onto someone, sit down on the floor, let them know. You know, like, hey, I'm not feeling good, and just sit on the floor. Because the last thing you want is to fall on the floor. Not only because it's embarrassing, but because you can hurt yourself. Just, you went to the ER. You don't want to do all that, you know. Once you know something is wrong, sit down and tell someone. Okay? Guys, I love you guys. I hope you guys laughed at this story. Sorry this is almost 13 minutes long, but I felt the need and I felt this was important. So, alright guys, bye!